The interview. The interrogation chamber was designed for intimidation. Stark white walls, harsh lighting, temperature controls that could swing from freezing to scorching. Zrel had used this room to break the will of countless prisoners. Marcus Chen walked in wearing standard detention grays, hands unbound, and immediately smiled. "Good morning, Commander," Marcus said cheerfully. "Nice place you've got here. Very minimalist." Zrel's translator struggled with the tonal inflection humans called sarcasm. He gestured to the chair with one of his 4 appendages. "Sit, human." Marcus complied, slouching comfortably as if visiting a friend. This casual demeanor unsettled Zrel more than he cared to admit. "You have been observed forming an attachment to Carthex Unit 847, Zrel stated. "Explain this behavior." Marcus blinked. "You mean Grimjaw? Yeah, he's a good guy once you get to know him." "Good guy?" Zrel's translator sputtered. "The Carthex are weapons. Biological machines designed for warfare. They possess no capacity for social bonding." "With respect, Commander, that's not entirely accurate." Marcus leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Grimjaw was definitely hostile at first. Threatened to tear my arms off, actually. Very descriptive about it too. And yet you approached him." "Well, yeah. We were stuck in a cell together. Seemed counterproductive to spend however long being enemies." Marcus shrugged. "So I started talking to him. Shared my food. Asked about his life." "His life?" Zrel's sensory stalks quivered. "It is a weapon." "He's a person," Marcus corrected gently. "He was created for war, sure, but he's still self-aware. He has thoughts, memories, preferences. Did you know he actually enjoys music? Terran jazz specifically. He says the improvisation reminds him of combat, but in a way that doesn't hurt anyone." Zrel was silent for a long moment. "You taught a Carthex warrior to appreciate jazz music." "Not taught really. I just played some on my data pad and he was curious. Turns out he'd never been exposed to art before. His creators never considered it relevant to his function." Marcus's expression darkened slightly. "That's pretty sad when you think about it. The Carthex have killed billions." "Grimjaw has killed hundreds," Marcus acknowledged, his voice quiet. "He's not proud of it. He follows orders because that's what he was made to do, but he's not mindless. He questions things. He wonders what else life could be." Zrel processed this information. In his 70 years of service, he had never considered that the Carthex might be victims of their own creation. They were monsters. Everyone knew this. But the humans saw something different. "Why do you do this?" Zrel asked finally. "Why extend compassion to something designed to destroy you?" Marcus smiled sadly. "Because someone has to be the first to try. And humans, we're really good at bonding with things. It's kind of our superpower." The revelation. Over the following weeks, Zrel became obsessed. He reviewed every piece of data on humans in the collective's archives, focusing specifically on their social behaviors. What he discovered terrified and amazed him in equal measure. Humans bonded with their pets, which made sense. Many species kept companion animals. But humans took it further. They bonded with creatures that could kill them, predators that viewed them as prey. On Earth, humans kept apex predators called dogs and cats in their homes. They formed emotional attachments to reptiles, arachnids, even plants. There were documented cases of humans befriending robots, AI constructs, and even inanimate objects. One soldier had named his weapon Betsy, and spoke to it before each battle. A ship captain had formed such a strong attachment to her vessel that she could detect problems through what she called intuition. But the most disturbing data concerned human prisoners of war. Mavora presented the findings during their morning briefing. "Commander, there are 73 documented cases of humans forming bonds with their captors. Not through coercion or manipulation, but genuine emotional connection. This phenomenon is so common they have a name for it, the Stockholm Syndrome." "They bond with their captors?" Zrel couldn't believe it. "It appears so. But there's more." Mavora pulled up another file. "There are also cases of humans befriending enemy soldiers during conflicts. During their World War I, opposing forces called a spontaneous truce to celebrate something called Christmas. They emerged from trenches, shared food, played games, and exchanged gifts. Then, when commanded, they returned to trying to kill each other." Zrel felt his equilibrium failing. "This is madness." "It's humanity, sir." Mavora's tone carried something that might have been respect. "They form connections across every conceivable barrier. Species, intelligence, intent, even hostility. If something exists and interacts with them, they will try to bond with it." Zrel pulled up the live feed from Marcus and Grimjaw's cell. The two were engaged in what appeared to be a teaching session. Marcus was showing Grimjaw how to fold paper into shapes, an art form called origami. The Carthax warrior, designed to be the perfect killer, was carefully creasing paper with appendages meant for rending flesh, creating a small bird under Marcus's patient guidance. "Schedule another interview," Zrel ordered. "I need to understand the mechanism behind this behavior." But as he watched Grimjaw's obvious pleasure at completing his paper creation, Zrel suspected the answer would challenge everything the collective believed about warfare, peace, and the nature of consciousness itself. The mechanism. The second interview took place in a different room. Zrel had ordered something closer to comfortable, with natural lighting and adjustable seating. If he wanted honest answers from the human, intimidation clearly wasn't the approach. Marcus entered, noted the changes and grinned. "Nice upgrade." "Thanks, Commander." "Sit. Explain to me the biological or psychological mechanism that drives your species to form bonds with inappropriate subjects." Marcus laughed. "Inappropriate subjects? That's one way to put it." He settled into his chair, considering his answer. "Okay, so I'm not a scientist, but I'll do my best. Humans evolved as social creatures. Our survival depended on cooperation, on forming tribes and communities. We had to learn to trust, to work together, to care about each other. Many species evolved socially," Zrel interjected. "This does not explain your excessive bonding." "True. But here's the thing, our brains got really good at pattern recognition and empathy. Too good maybe. We started seeing faces in clouds, personalities in storms, intentions in random events. We anthropomorphized everything because it helped us predict behavior and prepare for threats." Marcus leaned forward, warming to his subject. "So we developed this incredible ability to see consciousness, emotion, and personhood in almost anything. It's a survival trait that got supercharged. And once we recognize something as a person, even partially, we can't help but form connections. Even with enemies." "Especially with enemies," Marcus said seriously. "Because the moment we recognize our enemy as a person, with thoughts and feelings and maybe even doubts, they stop being a monster. They become someone we can talk to, negotiate with, maybe even understand." Zrel was silent, processing. "This seems inefficient for warfare." "It absolutely is," Marcus agreed. "It's why humans struggle with prolonged conflicts. We have to dehumanize our enemies to keep fighting them. We use propaganda, create distance, focus on ideological differences. Because if we let ourselves see the person behind the uniform, the individual behind the label, we start to hesitate. We start to question." "And with the Carthax?" Marcus smiled. "Grimjaw never had a chance. He was stuck in a room with me, forced to interact. Every interaction revealed more of his personality. His dry sense of humor. His curiosity. His loneliness." Marcus's voice softened. "Did you know he's never had a name before? Just a designation number. He told me that being called Grimjaw was the first time anyone acknowledged him as an individual." Zrel felt something unfamiliar stirring in his thorax. It might have been empathy, though his species typically reserved such feelings for their own kind. "Your friendship with this Carthax," Zrel said slowly. "It is genuine? Not strategic. Completely genuine. I actually really like him. He's thoughtful, surprisingly gentle when he wants to be, and he tells the best stories about his missions. Dark humor, you know? Coping mechanism." Marcus paused. "He's also terrified, Commander. The Carthax fear nothing." "He's terrified of being discarded," Marcus continued as if Zrel hadn't spoken. "He knows his creators view him as equipment. He knows that when he's no longer useful, he'll be terminated. He's afraid of dying without ever knowing what it means to live as something other than a weapon." The silence stretched between them. Finally Zrel spoke. "And you believe you can give him this?" "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "But I can try. That's what humans do. We try. We reach out. We hope. Even when it seems pointless, even when everyone says it's impossible, we extend our hand and hope someone takes it." Zrel looked at this strange, soft-bodied creature before him and felt the foundations of his worldview beginning to crack. The experiment. Zrel stood before the collective council, his report displayed on screens surrounding the chamber. The 7 council members, representing different species and systems, observed with varying degrees of skepticism. "You propose we release a Carthax warrior based on the observations of one human prisoner?" Council Elder Threnix spoke, her voice laced with disbelief. "Not release," Zrel corrected. "Relocate to supervised integration. I propose we test the human's theory on a larger scale. This is unprecedented, another council member said. It is necessary, Zrel insisted. We have fought the Carthax for decades with no decisive victory. They are individually superior to our soldiers. But what if we have been fighting them incorrectly? What if the human approach offers a solution our military strategy has missed? He pulled up footage of Marcus and Grimjaw. In the most recent recording they were playing chess, a human strategy game. Grimjaw was winning. The human has weaponized empathy, Zrel explained. He has turned an enemy into an ally without force, without coercion, simply through consistent kindness and recognition of personhood. If this can be replicated, it could change the entire nature of our conflict. Elder Threnix leaned forward. You believe we can befriend the Carthax into peace? I believe we have never tried. Zrel met her gaze steadily. The humans have a saying, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Perhaps it is time we stopped treating the Carthax as mindless weapons and started treating them as victims of their own creation. After hours of debate, the council reached a decision. They would establish a pilot program. Carthax Unit 847 Grimjaw would be transferred to a human diplomatic facility. Marcus Chun would be released from detention and assigned as primary liaison. The results would determine future policy. When Zrel informed Marcus of the decision, the human's face lit up with joy. You won't regret this, Commander. I promise. I hope you are correct, Zrel replied. Because if you are wrong, if this is manipulation rather than genuine connection, the consequences will be severe. It's not manipulation, Marcus said firmly. It's friendship. And friendship is stronger than you think. The transfer happened 3 days later. Grimjaw was sedated for transport, standard protocol, but when he woke in his new facility, Marcus was there waiting. Welcome to your new home, Marcus said, smiling. Grimjaw looked around the spacious quarters. There were windows, something he'd never had before. Soft lighting. Actual furniture rather than military-grade fixtures. And on a wall-mounted screen, jazz music played softly. This is for me? Grimjaw's voice, usually harsh and grating, carried a note of wonder. It's for you. We'll work together here. You'll help us understand the Carthax, their culture, their needs. And in return you get to be Grimjaw. Not Unit 847. Just Grimjaw. The massive warrior was silent for a long moment. Then, carefully, he extended one clawed appendage toward Marcus. The human took it without hesitation, shaking hands in the traditional human greeting. Zrel watched from the observation deck, his sensory stalks quivering with emotion he couldn't quite name. Perhaps the humans were onto something after all. The breakthrough. 6 months into the integration program, Zrel compiled his findings. The results were extraordinary. Grimjaw had provided intelligence on Carthax operations that the collective had been unable to obtain through years of interrogation and espionage. But more importantly, he had revealed something crucial. The Carthax were suffering. They are aware, Grimjaw explained during a recorded session with Marcus and a panel of researchers. Every Carthax is aware that they are created, not born. They know they are tools. This knowledge creates emptiness. A void where organic beings have purpose and connection. Is this why they fight so ferociously? One researcher asked. We fight because we must. Because it is our function. But also. Grimjaw hesitated, a very human gesture he had learned from Marcus. Also because combat is the only time we feel anything. The only time our existence seems to matter. Marcus placed a hand on Grimjaw's armored shoulder, a gesture of comfort that should have been impossible between their species. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. The breakthrough came when Grimjaw proposed a radical idea. Contact the Carthax directly. Not through military channels but through cultural exchange. Let them see that there were alternatives to endless war. They will not believe words, Grimjaw said. They must see. They must experience what I have experienced. Zrel was skeptical, but Marcus championed the plan. Think about it, Commander. Every human peace movement started with individuals reaching across divides. Civil rights, international diplomacy, even reconciliation after wars. It always begins with people seeing each other as people. Against his better judgment, Zrel authorized a communications broadcast to Carthax Command. The message was simple. Carthax Unit 847 had found an alternative existence. Any Carthax who wished to explore similar options would be granted safe passage for discussion. The collective military considered it suicide. The council called it naive. But 3 weeks later, a small Carthax ship requested permission to dock. One warrior emerged. Designation, Unit 1043. He was older than Grimjaw, scarred from countless battles and radiated barely contained aggression. Marcus walked out to meet him alone. "You are the human," Unit 1043 stated. "I'm Marcus. You are." "I am Unit 1043. Would you like a name? Something that's yours?" The Carthax warrior tilted his head, confused. "Names are for those who matter." "Everyone matters," Marcus said simply. "How about Ironhide? You look tough as iron." For 5 full seconds the Carthax stood motionless. Then, "Ironhide. I am Ironhide." Grimjaw emerged from the facility. The two Carthax faced each other, and for a moment Zrel feared violence. But then Grimjaw spoke in their native language, words the translators rendered as, "Brother, there is another way." Over the following weeks, Ironhide went through the same transformation as Grimjaw. Suspicion gave way to curiosity. Hostility softened into cautious friendship. Marcus introduced him to music, art, games, stories. All the things that made life more than mere survival. "Your species is strange," Ironhide told Marcus one evening. "You should fear us, hate us. We have killed so many of your kind." "Some humans do hate you," Marcus acknowledged. "But hate takes so much energy. It's exhausting. Friendship is easier." "Friendship." Ironhide tested the word. "This is not efficient." "No," Marcus agreed. "But it's worthwhile." "That's different than efficient." Zrel watched this exchange and realized something profound. The humans weren't trying to win a war. They were trying to end the need for war entirely. By transforming enemies into friends, they removed the foundation of conflict itself. It was the most dangerous and hopeful thing he had ever witnessed. The transformation. 1 year after the program began, Zrel stood before the council once more. This time, his report included testimony from 17 Carthax warriors who had voluntarily joined the integration program. "The data is irrefutable," Zrel stated. "Every Carthax exposed to sustained human interaction has demonstrated significant behavioral changes. Aggression decreases. Curiosity increases. Most significantly, they develop what humans call empathy." Elder Threnix studied the reports. "And their creators? How have they responded?" "With confusion initially. Then anger. They are attempting to recall their units, but..." Zrel allowed himself what humans called a smile. "The Carthax are refusing. They are choosing to stay." On the screen behind him, footage played of the integration facility. Grimjaw was teaching a group of newly arrived Carthax how to play chess. Ironhide was learning to paint, his massive claws surprisingly delicate with a brush. Another Carthax, who had chosen the name Whisper, was reading human poetry aloud, fascinated by the rhythm and emotion in the words. And throughout it all, Marcus Chin moved among them, talking, laughing, teaching, and learning in return. "The human has done what our military could not," one council member observed. "He has defeated the Carthax without firing a shot." "He has not defeated them," Zrel corrected. "He has freed them. There is a difference." The council approved full expansion of the program. Facilities were established across collective space. Human volunteers were recruited to serve as integration specialists. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of humans applied, each eager to extend friendship to former enemies. The war didn't end immediately. The Carthax creators refused to acknowledge the legitimacy of the defections. Battles continued. But slowly, steadily, more Carthax chose to leave. They chose names over numbers. They chose connection over isolation. Zrel visited Marcus one final time before the human returned to Earth. They stood in the observation deck, watching Grimjaw lead a meditation session for new arrivals, teaching them techniques to manage their combat-induced trauma. "Your species is remarkable," Zrel said quietly. "And terrifying." Marcus laughed. "Terrifying? You weaponize love itself. You turn enemies into family. You see potential for friendship in everything that exists." Zrel's sensory stalks waved expressively. "If humanity ever chose conquest, no force in the galaxy could stand against you. Because you would not need to fight. You would simply befriend your way to victory." "That's a scary thought," Marcus admitted. "But I prefer to think we're just expanding the circle of who gets to be considered US. The bigger that circle gets, the fewer people we have to fight. And when the circle encompasses all beings?" Marcus smiled. "Then maybe we can finally focus on the real challenges. Exploring the universe. Solving problems. Creating things instead of destroying them." Zrel watched Grimjaw help a struggling Carthax through a breathing exercise, showing patience and compassion that should have been impossible for his species. The human capacity for friendship may be your greatest weapon and your greatest gift. It's not a weapon, Marcus said gently. It's just who we are. We bond with things. We can't help it. Put us in a room with a rock long enough, and we'll start having conversations with it. He paused. Actually, that happened to a geologist friend of mine. She named her favorite specimens. Zrel's translator registered human humor and decided not to process the statement literally. As Marcus prepared to depart, Grimjaw approached, accompanied by 12 other Cartheks. Each had chosen names. Each had found purposes beyond war. And each wanted to say goodbye to the human who had shown them a different way to exist. You gave us more than friendship, Grimjaw said, his voice heavy with emotion. You gave us ourselves. For that, we are forever grateful. Marcus hugged each Carthex in turn, an act that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Take care of each other. Remember that you always have choices. And maybe someday teach others what you've learned. We will, Ironhide promised. The circle will grow. As Marcus's transport lifted off, Zrel felt something he had rarely experienced: hope. The human had proven that even the most intractable conflicts could be resolved not through force, but through the simple act of seeing the person behind the enemy. Humanity's strange superpower of bonding with anything had transformed soldiers into artists, warriors into philosophers, weapons into individuals. They had shown the galaxy that friendship could be more powerful than any military technology. And somewhere in the vastness of space, more humans were already reaching out to new species, new civilizations, new potential friends. Because that was what humans did. They bonded. With everything. Even their enemies. Especially their enemies.